All right, so welcome everybody. We are at ARC Forum in Orlando, and we're talking to Gregory Tink, the Director of Digital Transformation Consulting at Schneider Electric. Welcome, Greg.
Thank you. Good to be here.
So maybe start with a little bit, what do you think of the forum so far?
I like it. It's anytime you get a chance to have people around that are thinking the same, that want to talk and have interest in these subjects, there's a lot to learn, and
Yes.
It's good to bounce ideas off people and meet new people, but also just dig into certain topics. So I've been happy about some of the conversations. They haven't been high level. We've actually been trying to work together to solve problems this week.
Right, and it's good to have the end user's perspective. We've certainly bounced in the consulting and dealing with a lot of end users. So
Yeah.
I'd be curious, what are some of the strategies that you recommend companies starting their journey in the industrial digital transformation to ensure that both immediate and long-term goals are met?
Yeah, well, one thing we recommend is to focus on the problems you're trying to solve, and to understand what problems you're trying to solve as you start transforming. Focus on what you want to transform into first and foremost. Have a common purpose. Really evolve why you're transforming, what you want to transform into, and then try to figure out what are those business cases, the problems you want to solve first, that you can really dig into to get some traction, to get moving. But I think one of the biggest mistakes is to not understand, number one, again, what you're trying to transform into, and then evolve from that. If you don't have that understanding, it's really difficult to know when you've actually arrived at your destination.
Right, and this is one of the challenges of this sort of industrial revolution. The first three was easy to put your hands on it. This one, it's a little more challenging. What are you trying to solve? So let's talk a little bit about, people can't really put their hands on it. But what are some of the challenges that you see right now? We're on year 8 for IoT world now, and we continue to talk about everybody's on a different level in their journey, but what do you see some of the problems with manufacturers?
Well, I think we haven't solved the data problems that we've tried to solve. IoT, and getting more data and consuming more data and knowing what to do with it. We're still struggling with that. Various industries are poking at it. Some of the newer, I guess, technology releases are helping us. With Schneider, our EcoStruxure automation expert, is one of our focus areas that I think can really help clients think differently about their data, and help get the data at the right place at the right time. But without that foundation and a strategy around data, it's really difficult to move anywhere, into more advanced technologies and uses like AI. You can't, without that solid foundation, you can't really build on it. You can't do much, and I think we're still struggling with that. The more recent, though, as far as the problems that we're talking to our clients about and what we're trying to solve, sustainability is key. Clients want to understand, number one, how Schneider's been successful at becoming more sustainable, what we've done around our operations and how we've made that part of our culture, and then as well how we can help them. And so there's the sustainability piece, which is a huge enabler. I guess it's enabled by digital transformation, and it's a huge use case that companies want to focus on. Right. Efficiencies, which are tied to sustainability. If something's more efficient, it's by nature more sustainable just because it's more efficient.
And we'll double click on a sustainability aspect. I'm just while we learn the problems that the manufacturers have, like in our area, Gray Lakes, so spent 30 years in manufacturing, heart of U.S. manufacturing.
Yep.
There's still people that question is like, where do I get started? How do you prove the benefits? They may not even be aware of what's out there. So how do you get those people that are smaller in size and may not even have a chief innovation officer or IT, or it's outsourced IT?
I think that's actually where companies start the conversation most of the time, is where should we begin? Right. And what we talk about is looking into your own processes, understanding what the bottlenecks are, and start with a lean foundation. So it's not necessarily starting by putting technology in place, it's starting with your work processes, the people that you have, understanding how you can improve your processes, and then the opportunities to digitize, those key processes. So if you start with a lean foundation, then you have something you can build on. And if you start by digitizing that lean, the processes in your plant and how you're working, well, then you can see and understand how things are changing across your plant and see the effects of the changes you're making immediately. And I think that's key, is getting that momentum, starting something, but starting, not by putting in technology and proof of concepting yourself to death, but start with the processes, start with the people, and then build on that, so that the people come along, they learn, they get trained, they understand how digital technology is going to help them with their jobs and free them up to do other things. And then as you build on that, you can see the effects. People get excited, they want to be part of it. And then you can start looking at, okay, we're doing different things with data, how can we continue that momentum?
Right. Now, back to sustainability. Thank you for that insight, by the way. Sustainability is a big topic, and we're not going to talk about one of the areas I want to focus is how do the companies that they can align the digital transformation with the sustainability goals and achieve that eco-efficient sort of operation.
Yeah, well, and you need a holistic view on your operations to understand how you can make them more sustainable. So the building that you operate in, the processes where you can find efficiencies across the board. If you have a big power draw in the middle of your facility that's part of your process, can we make improvements? Can we reduce the amount of power that we're using? But it's understanding that process and what you're doing and looking for those opportunities. Again, it goes back to understanding and that whole lean process. Where are the bottlenecks? It's the same with power and sustainability. Where are the draws? Can we reduce our water, that we take out? You have to look at it holistically and understand where those opportunities for more efficiencies are, where the opportunities are to use less, take less from the grid, take less from, as far as water, and then you can build on that and target those areas and make those improvements as you go along. If you don't know where those inefficiencies are or those power draws and the areas to focus on, it's really difficult to get any sort of momentum to make sustainability sustainable.
Sure, and as with anything, you got to measure it in order to improve it. So let's talk about some of the tools that Schneider has to help with that.
Oh, and it's a good point. More and more, it's being able to improve, but prove that you're improving, and that takes measurement. That takes tools and more advanced uses of data, so that you can bring the right data to the right hands, so that people can make the better decisions. So across the board, Schneider and Aviva have tools from the sensor to the cloud that allow you to do that. From a plant MES systems to rolling up to the overall unified operating center solutions and historians that we can bring to help you out. My group's job is to focus on not necessarily the tools first, it's to focus on what the problems are and how we can solve them. And then we look at those packages with including tools where we can help you become more efficient. We can help clients look at becoming more sustainable, but also just more profitable as organizations going forward. So everything from in our own facilities, we use Pi, of course, we use Aviva Insights, we will use our own MES platforms, we'll our PME systems from power, our building management systems, resource advisor, all of those are part of our approach to becoming more sustainable and continuous improvement generally.
Good insight. Can you maybe double click on, maybe provide an example on Schneider Electric's digital transformation services, and certainly you've had background with as an integrator, then working with managing consulting firm, and now with Schneider. And maybe just pick a client that you've worked with that is specific challenges, what they implement solution, and direct outcomes from these efforts.
Yeah, well, we're working with a client right now, and I won't name names, but we started the conversation with them just to understand how they could become more efficient in one of their facilities. And as we were talking to them and engaging with them, they brought in extra people to work with us, and we brought in our sustainability experts, and we brought in some of our our lean sort of operations excellence experts, and in that we're now kicking off a project that includes a multifaceted sort of program that includes various experts that can help them move the needle on it. So we started with what they thought the problem was, and which was the lack of a strategy. And then as we were developing that strategy, they pulled in more people, and it increased the size of what we're doing with them. And that's pretty typical with how we work with clients. We bring in the experts, we have conversations, we understand where the problems are, and a lot of times we uncover these gold nuggets that we can help them with that really support how they're transforming themselves. In this case, we're helping them accelerate their transformation, not necessarily starting their transformation from scratch, because they had some really good work that they were already doing, but they were lacking some areas and some expertise, especially in sustainability, that we were able to bring in and complement them.
Got it. So is there a specific sort of numbers that our audience love numbers, right? So maybe it doesn't have to be this particular example, maybe a different one, but hey, we made the plan more efficient by whatever, 26%, whatever that is, because we've done A, B, C.
Yeah, well, even in our own factories, we track that year over year, and we're looking at 3%, 5% savings, and we set those targets on a continuous basis. So with our clients, we've seen efficiency gains of 5-6% in their processing. We've seen gains with as far as their overall sustainability and their reduction of what they're using, in their processes to 10%, even more, depending on the clients that we're working with. And usually you find once you start measuring and start improving in the first couple years, you can make significant gains, just by going in and trying and making improvements, simply because there's discoveries that are made along the way. And it depends on, and the targets can be anything from reducing what you use off the grid, having targets to reduce your water usage, or targets to reduce the number of forklifts you have running around your facility by changing the way the work moves through the facility as well. And so any of those targets, once in the case of Lexington, which is a factory we own, we were, by moving our work to an overhead process that moves the work through the facility on an ongoing basis, we were able to reduce the traffic on the floor by 90%, and we were also able to make it more visual, so people weren't tracing and trying to figure out where the work was. That was the visualization allowed them to know exactly where there were bottlenecks in the process without having to go on the floor to dig for it. So not only were there efficiency gains and sustainability gains, and in as far as reduction in energy along the way, there were also just improvements in throughput that were quite high, and just efficiencies in how we were tracking work and understanding where the work was, so we could make better decisions. So as you start moving, you get into a mode where every year you're looking for those new gains and new ways to improve on an ongoing basis. But it's not uncommon to see, 3% gains over year, but at the beginning it's not uncommon to see 10% change and improvements in making those targets work.
Yeah, and I visited that facility in Lexington. Maybe it's been a few years, but as you launched it, I guess maybe we'll close with something you said earlier. It's not about technology, but perhaps if you were to sort of predict what emerging technology or even solution you'll see in the next couple of years in this digital transformation. And we've seen this week at the forum folks packaging templates and how do you put value-based, how do you, to the customers to give it. And it's not necessarily about the solution, but it's like, how do you point out the value? It's like whether you're measuring, reducing the water, reducing the usage of the trucks, whatever they might be.
Well, I think that trends I see, and I think, it's more and more, about what you can do with the data. But I think we're at a point where we're past Industry 4.0, and we're at the point where with Industry 5, if you will, which is really about advanced technology helping people and society using technology and benefiting from technology. And I think we're seeing more and more of that, where sustainability is just part of a culture. And Schneider is definitely taking the lead on, and as an example of how to do that. But I think more and more we're going to see that, which requires more data integration, more digital, more transformation as far as how you're working. And I think that's key. I also think we're at a point where we need digital, we need automation, because we won't necessarily have the luxury going forward. And I think we're at that point now of having the experts available all over, just for us. And so we'll see a lot of AI but evolve in co-pilot type roles, where artificial intelligence will be agents that are packaged that can help the people that are there become more efficient, find ways to optimize, find ways to continuously improve, but not as far as moving data to the cloud, but right in the process. So AI embedded or infused right in the systems that we use to operate our facilities, and more in a not taking away the humans, but more in the role of prodding and poking the humans to really do more with less and think differently about how they're operating. So I think those keys will advance how we're thinking about technology and how we're using technology to drive efficiencies and gains. And I think we're already seeing some of that. I don't think it's just going to happen. I think it's already evolving as we're working now, where we're seeing technology take more of a role in getting people the right data at the right time to make better decisions. But more and more we're going to see that co-pilot sort of mentality, where AI algorithms are driving and partnering with humans to really help figure out how to improve on a continuous basis, because we don't do it once, we do it over and over again.
Right. Great. Thank you, Greg. And if you're in the audience and have questions, whether it's digital transformation initiatives, everybody's in a different stage, but if you have questions for Greg or somebody here, you didn't make it to Orlando, there's a lot of end users, managing consultants, system integrators background, so a lot of information being shared. Feel free to leverage the hashtag you see on the screen, and we'll get the appropriate expert from Schneider Electric or others here at the forum, end users, and so on. Or maybe meet Greg and other folks in Hanover or other shows. So thank you.
Awesome. No, thank you, and appreciate the time.